And hello and welcome to Open, the one and only show. It's opening the Bronx to the rest of the world right to you. I am Daren, Jaime, and today we'll update you on what's happening in and around our borough and New York City. Coming up, we'll learn about the opening of a state-of-the-art La Central YMCA, I should say, in the South Bronx. And we'll have more details a little bit later on in the show. And then afterwards, we'll learn about Lehman College's Immigrant nursing program. We'll have details. And we'll talk about an organization that's actually engaging communities in social change. Then, we're going to talk to a relationship expert about tips for having healthy relationships and the signs you need to look out for. And then finally, we'll discuss the importance of focusing on your mental health. So stay tuned because all this and much more is heading your way because now we're officially open. And hello, everyone. I'm Daren Jaime, and you are now watching Open, a live program bringing the Bronx and the New York City straight to you. We also want to welcome our viewers to the Manhattan Neighborhood Network as Open is being broadcast simultaneously on M&N's channels. You can, of course, stay connected to us on all of our social media platforms at BronxNet TV. Well, some things have been going on through the past week, and we'll take you through it with some Bronx updates. We start off with community news. Highbridge community members are one step further in receiving access to the health care they need with the opening of the new Highbridge Essent Urgent Care Center. Our BronxNet reporter Brittany Schuyler-Aubain has more details.
Highbridge community members are now one step further in receiving access to the health care they need with the opening of the new Highbridge Essent Urgent Care Center.
We're super excited because we are opening our 22nd urgent care facility, and we're double excited because we're partnering with Highbridge Community.
Highbridge is known to house a predominantly senior community. Therefore, it was important to Essent to open a location that was easily reachable, where most seniors wouldn't have to travel a long distance.
They don't have to go far to receive the care that they need. They can come over here and Essent will provide them with the care they need and also will refer them to all their offices that they have throughout the Bronx so they can receive everything that they need and they can have access to the care.
The medical professionals and partners here at the Highbridge Essent Urgent Care are dedicated to serving their community before a crisis arises.
We need to know about those sorts of things and the remedies for them, where to go and what to do well before you face a crisis.
If you're in the Highbridge area and are in need of medical attention, the staff at the new Highbridge Essent Urgent Care Center is eagerly waiting to meet your medical needs. Reporting for BronxNet, Brittany Schuyler-Aubain.
In other news, the James J. Peter VA Medical Center teamed up with the Office of the Borough President to resume their annual Veterans Resource Fair. Brittany was also there and brings us the details.
September is Suicide Awareness Month, which is why the James J. Peter VA Medical Center has teamed up with the Office of the Borough President to resume their annual Veterans Resource Fair.
The Bronx is home to over 23,000 veterans, and one of the biggest barriers is barriers to access, access to resources. And so we're bringing the resources right here to Borough Hall to ensure that our veterans community is connected to the necessary resources.
The New York City Department of Veterans Services is a fairly new city agency as it has been around for only 6 years. They provide services like compensation preparation assistance, supportive housing, and referral services. Yet, most veterans and their families do not even know that the services are available, which is why resource fairs are imperative to serving our veterans.
The more you connect with veteran services or organizations, city, state agencies, everything, the more we stay connected the better we can support the veterans within the five boroughs.
The Lehman College Office of Veterans and Military Affairs came out to make their voice heard and let veterans know that it is never too late to further their education. They serve active duty and reserve veterans as well as their families. They assist with tuition and academic guidance, and they hope more veterans seek out their services.
Veterans are not alone. There are resources out there. They just need to know the right information and who to talk to. And these events like these bring us all together.
Be sure to keep in contact with the Office of the Borough President and stay on the lookout for future resource fairs hosted throughout the year. Reporting for BronxNet, Brittany Schuyler Albane.
Well, we sure are keeping Brittany busy. Thank you, Brittany. That's all the time we have for our Bronx updates. Listen, we have to take a quick break, but we do have more open when we return. And welcome back. The YMCA of Greater New York significantly expanded its capacity to serve Bronx residents with the new La Central YMCA branch in the South Bronx. Now, joining us more to tell more details, we've got the executive director of the Northeast Bronx YMCA and La Central YMCA, Shay Gattis. And Shay, thank you for being with us.
Daren, thank you so much for having me this morning, and I look forward to talking about all the exciting things going on in both Northeast and La Central YMCAs.
Yeah, well, first of all, let's talk about La Central. That's a huge uplift for people down in the South Bronx area, and the opportunity to really have expanded services that actually reach them.
Yes, I mean we're really, it's been over 30 years. We've mainly been in Castle Hill, but now we have two additions to the Bronx YMCA's, and the La Central one is, as you know, is in the hub South Bronx, and we're really excited to start servicing that community to provide really great, fantastic family programming, and also just to uplift the community to know that we're there to preventative health facility as well as youth programming.
And you've got another one as well. And you talked about La Central. Let's talk about Northeast.
Northeast has been, we've been here. We opened our doors in Northeast, up in the Northeast Bronx last September. And I think we've sort of exceeded all of our expectations that we now have over 3,000 members, but we're servicing over 7,000 members here. We have an unbelievable aquatics facility, basketball court, and a lot of fitness classes that a lot of our members have been really enjoying and taking part and engaging into those different activities.
And when we talk about both locations, obviously you've got the one that's brand new and you're celebrating a 1-year anniversary. The advantage, I think, these days is when you can say we've got new, adequate facilities. We're able to really reach people right where they are and really be on the cutting edge with what's happening out there, particularly in the areas of, athletics and recreation.
Yeah, I mean, our mission really is to service all New Yorkers, but clearly we're here in the Bronx, and we're trying to empower youth, improve health, and strengthen communities. Both facilities are state-of-the-art facilities. When I say state-of-the-art, they're over 5,000, 50,000 square foot facilities with, state-of-the-art equipment, cardio equipment, brand new studios. Both have unbelievable aquatic centers that's featuring two two pools, one which is a lap pool and also a family activity pool. Um, so we'll be able to scale up and service a lot of members every day that's walking through our doors at both facilities. And so, we would just want everyone to feel welcome, understand that this is a space that's going to be clean. The staff will always try to find a yes, and give the best service that we can give possible every day to each and every member that walks through the doors.
We got La Central in the hub. We got the Northeast Bronx. The Y is definitely increasing its footprint. Talk to me about that impact that you feel, particularly for us here in the borough, who have the opportunity to really tap into these services.
Yeah, I mean, I think the community impact and the benefits that we're bringing to the table, it's really a testament to the power of working with everyone in the community, and that's all stakeholders. That might be government officials, that may be private sector, that may be health providers, all of that. That we've been able to, you know, provide women who are pregnant with services, which is a great baby shower that we've been able to do, giving out turkeys, doing family nights, just keeping people active. I think the organic way of understanding what health really means and coming together and doing it in a fun and very inviting environment, uh, people feel that and they want to feel connectedness because clearly coming out of the pandemic, a lot of us has felt sort of isolated, but this is a way to sort of reconnect and re-engage with people in the community. And we're just so pleased to be a part of that because I think coming out of the pandemic, it's more than important that everyone feels like they're wanted. And we have a great system where it's accessible to everyone. We have financial assistance, so please do not be deterred from what the price may be. We don't ask for any income information. You just ask for financial assistance, and we'll ensure that we can provide you with a membership that you can afford.
You talked about providing financial assistance and the economic challenges that some people may face, but even in having both of these facilities, there is this huge economic impact that you're also making because you're hiring employees. You've got people who've worked on the construction plant. So give me a little bit about your thought there because there's some community and economic development that's also occurring simultaneously.
Yeah, that economic impact has been, I think, for our CEO, I'm sure that was on the top of our mind to say, hey, it's one thing to build within a community that is very, high need, but also what we're trying to do is hire staff within the community and the catchment area within literally 4 or 5 blocks of those facilities, which is amazing. So to say that 99% of the people that you encounter at these two facilities live within the community, and they feel invested in that, and they feel very proud of that because walking into a state of the art facility, but saying, hey, right, like we want to take ownership of this and we love this place and we're going to make sure that everyone enjoys it, but we're here to make it a place that you want to be.
Yeah. Attendance, sometimes can be challenging given the fact that COVID has impacted so many different people. Not seeing people take advantage of resources simply because of COVID fear and somewhat COVID fatigue. What have you been seeing on your end now that you've been a year out there in the Northeast Bronx? People coming out full steam now?
People are coming out. I mean, clearly, first, I would just like to say, we followed all the state and city regulations because, we've opened up at a period where there were strict guidelines, and that was a priority for us to make sure that people felt safe. We've had mask mandates as well as, no mask vaccinations, but um, I think the numbers and the metrics speaks to itself of how important and how much demand this has been. So to open up a facility and have over 3,000 members registered within a year, but also that span of family memberships to over 7,000. I mean, that speaks volumes to um, people really, really want to be out, and particularly our older adults. We have, classes for all ages. It is multi-generational. We have classes now with active older adults. When I say active older adults, these are folks that are over 65, and they're classes of sizes of over 50 people working out. So it's really, really amazing to see that. And they're coming out and they're feeling, just happy to be out and about again. So.
Well, Shay, I want to thank you so much. Congratulations, La Central, right there in the hub. People can be able to check that out. The Northeast Bronx celebrating 1 year, and look, it's good for the Bronx, it's good for New York City, and we're glad that the Y is out there.
Hey, Daren, thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you in person one day. All right?
Yes, sir.
Great.
Yes, sir. We look forward to that
Awesome.
too. Shay Gattis,
Great.
who is also the executive director of the Northeast Bronx and the La Central YMCA. Listen, I want to let you know if you want more information, please don't hesitate to visit the website, ymcanyc.org. And then you can also follow them on Instagram and Twitter at YMCA-NYC. We encourage you, don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more Open coming up right after this. And welcome back. Lehman College is launching an educational program to assist internationally trained nurses with improving their English language skills and obtaining license as well as employment as registered nurses in New York City. And joining us now to share more details, we've got the program manager for Immigrant Nursing Program at Lehman College. We've got Colleen, Pike, Blair, and we've also got a trainee in the Immigrant Nursing Program, Nixzaliz Hernandez, who's joining us virtually. And hey there, Nixzaliz. And I'll start off with you, Colleen, in a very special program, really helping people to really bridge the gap when it comes to the area of nursing and being here in the United States.
Thank you. That is correct. So just by way of introducing myself, I am working with the School of Continuing and Professional Studies, where we're running a lot of programs focused on immigrant services, right? So that's including adult ESL and many certificate programs, and now this immigrant nursing program, which we're so excited to be here today to share information with you all and your listeners and viewers. So yeah, it's a new program at Lehman, and Nixzaliz is part of our very first cohort. So we're just so happy to have the chance to be here this morning. Thank you.
Thank you. And as we talk about this program, give me a little insight into it. How does it really go about helping people make that transition?
Thank you. Well, the key is the contextualized learning. So these trainees are nurses. They're well educated. They're already trained, and many of them have years of experience. What they're doing with us is they're improving their English language skills, and they're focused on not just clinical vocabulary, workforce type of language, but with a focus on learning how to take apart English sentence structure in order to be able to master that board exam, right, which is the key to obtaining their New York State licensure. And after they all pass that NCLEX exam, we're still with them, right? We're still helping them with job readiness skills and professional job references, where our goal is to have every single one of them working full-time as a registered nurse in New York City by the springtime. Yeah.
I want to bring Nixzaliz on in, and thank you for joining us. Talk to me a little bit about this, and how are you feeling about the program, and how has it helped you actually begin to develop as you get towards that exam?
Also, thank you for allowing me to be part of this interview. Yes, this program is like a kind of blessing because they they have a lot of support. Um, this program help you also with the English skills because they go just focus in the nursing part. Also, they have a nurse over there, like they go along with you and the studying. She give you giving you classes. Also, they give you all the books, all the material like we need in order we can get prepared for the enclave exam. And they have an advisor over there in case if you need any support. Also, they can give you all the support you need. It's like everything in one thing. And over there, they, they just want they are making us more of like our main focus is to pass the English and understand everything what we doing in that.
Yeah. What's been the best part for you in this whole process?
Yeah, the best part during this process is like we are with a very good teacher. Is also I was telling yesterday, Miss Colleen, like a cheese kind of book because she know everything, and she also prepares not just with the lecture. She also train us with the practice things like a the things like you wanna have in every day in their nursing practice.
So let me come back over here and talk to you, Colleen. You got internationally trained nurses, right?
Yes.
And you have the ability now to really impact their lives in such a special way. And here it is. The training that you're giving really is no cost.
That's correct. This is sponsored by the city of New York, and it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. You could easily say for nurses who are here and absolutely passionate about their work. Right? They can work in a variety of healthcare professions, but their calling is to work as a nurse and to be part of this community in that kind of ministry almost that they carry within themselves that they work so hard to achieve at home, and now they're also working equally hard, I would say, in our program to make sure that they are prepared to enter the United States healthcare system, right? So, yes, it's a unique opportunity for eligible nurses, and we're just really proud that we're able to provide that to this community.
And seeing this cohort go out there and having this opportunity to really help nurses and at the same time help the community, what do you see as the impact happening?
Daren, this community is made up of immigrants, and the neighborhoods are full of individuals who would just love more than anything if they're going to receive health care to be able to receive that kind of care and communication from someone who can communicate with them in their native language, in a language that they're comfortable with. And so we are really connecting people and systems in a way that is critical for efficient delivery of healthcare and for growing, our wonderful, diverse community of New York City.
Yeah. So Nixzaliz, you feeling good about this, huh?
Yes, yes. Um, uh, because as I was telling you before, this is an excellent program. Because the thing is, we have the knowledge, but sometimes we stop as soon as we arrive over here. We start to following our the thing like we already study for. But with this program, they help you to continue with the thing with your goals because sometimes we feel like, oh, because my English is not good, maybe I cannot continue doing uh, what I studied before. And sometimes with we then go to our main goal. But with this program, they can help you to focus on the goal, and also they help you in order you can finish it and try to get what you
Yeah. Well,
need. Yes.
Nixzaliz, yeah, congratulations on the work that you're doing, and I know that as you get closer to that exam, we see you going across the finish line. And Colleen, thank you so much for being with us, and the work that's going on there obviously impacted, as I said, nurses, but honestly, how it translates out, it's a community impact, and that's going to be major.
Really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Daren. And thanks, Nixzaliz.
All righty. Colleen, Pike, Blair with us, and want to let you know, listen, if you want more information, all you got to do is visit the website, lehman.edu. We encourage you, don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more Open coming up right after this. Theater has always been a means of investigating humanity, sharing stories, and examining our role in local, political, and the global community. Theater of the Oppressed NYC partners with communities, I should say, that are facing discrimination to inspire transformative action through theater. We sat down with the Director of Communications and Creative Advocacy at the Theater of the Oppressed NYC, Omari Soulfinger, to tell us more.
Glad to be here.
So pretty interesting here how you take theater and you take it to a place of advocacy. So for a few people who may not know more about your organization, give us a little more insight.
Sure. So Theater of the Oppressed itself is a methodology that comes out of Brazil in the 70s. And it was used, the best way I can describe it is rehearsal for real life. It was used at a time where folks didn't have the same access to education, were speaking different languages, and frankly, there were real problems in the country. And so how does legislation get passed? How do we navigate community challenges, right? How do we try out different ideas if we all can't communicate? And how do we balance the power dynamics that exist in different spaces? And so theater and presenting real stories and everyone getting to have the same experience at the same time, and then to comment on how they see the problems that are presented, and project their own experiences onto the play. It was one way to begin that dialogue. Then we often invite folks after the play is done. It's a short play that usually ends in some sort of failure or someone not getting what they need or what they want, which we see as oppression. We would then invite the audience to step in as one of the characters in the play and try to get what they need or want. And in that part of the play, they are now trying out different solutions. They're actually walking what they talk. Prevention, if that even legislation that they propose works. And so in this way, we're making democracy more participatory. We're making it more interactive. We're practicing for how we want to confront these problems when they occur. And frankly, it makes advocacy way more engaging.
Yeah,
and so,
I didn't mean to cut you, no, but I'm saying, so, at the end of it, you got social change, right, and social awareness. Are you finding that many people are really at the place of a social awareness?
Yeah, I think that the process of moving these problems from a head place to a heart place to a body place and actually doing it is the first step to actually doing something in real life, right? That to see that you actually are the expert because you have the lived experience and you're able to bring it out. And then for folks who think they are the expert, think they have all the answers, and then we're like, okay, well, let's do it right now. We can also process of like, oh, so this is living in an idea place, but when it comes to real action and doing something, there's some challenges. And so we do think the process itself is not going to solve anything, right? But it is about preparation to taking the next step towards action. So it is all definitely about awareness and cultural organizing.
So you have what's called the legislative theater. And
Sure.
when you have the legislative theater, how does that work?
We invite the people who have the responsibility and the power to make legislative change into the space. So not only are they going to hear from the community, their constituents, the folks who are affected by the problem, and see an example of that and see an example of the solutions, they are in the space to either offer take what's happening from the process and draft legislation on the spot, offer commitment, or to present legislation that they're already working on and allow us to introduce that concept into the play. And so again, it's a way, it's participatory democracy, and it's a way to bring the people to the street. I think of Theater of the Oppressed, it solves this problem, this paradox we have of like us who have access to the books and the documentary and the panels and the lectures. We then go to the people who don't have those access and say, this is what you need to do to make your life better. This is what you need to be doing to liberate yourself. And that in itself is an oppressive dynamic. And so I think legislative theater allows us, like, let's all get in the same room. Let's all have the same experience. Let's all then together work. And I think it's important to have the people that represent us there and then hold them accountable to what they experience together when they go to the more formal government spaces.
So talk to me about response, because this is pretty innovative. It's pretty interesting, right? You're taking legislation, you're bringing it to the theater, you're having people who are part of the audience actually be a part. You've got actors as well. What's the response like when people start to engage in this kind of form? Normally, we can say we'll sit around a table, right? Or we'll sit in a U shape, we'll get some tables, we'll get some chairs, we'll talk about it, we'll hash it out, we'll use the whiteboard, but you're using stage, you're using theater. And how does that resonate with those?
So in this tradition, we have this concept of demechanization. And what we're offering is that when oppression exists because we've all been mechanized, we've all been conditioned to act, to be a certain way. And so, yeah, the U-shaped table, the didactic thinking, that helps to be predictable and help things continue the way they are. And so we need to demechanize it. So we introduce the art and the games and the playfulness to introduce confusion. Right. And we call this good confusion, because this good confusion, this place of like, I don't know what's going to happen next. This is unpredictable. It creates equity. So we're all doing this at the same time. And it also evokes our core human elements of like, as a child, you learn through play, you learn through experiential learning. And so we're all going back to that. And from there, we will then try to solve this problem. So that the initial impact is we get really good at our job. We call our facilitators jokers, not because we're funny, but because in a deck of cards, we're the wild card. And so we're going to change the rules on you. And right. That experience has its own experience. But once the rules are changed, then we can actually change the larger rules in which are creating the conditions that our people are in right now. So it's a journey. It's unorthodox, and it's way more interesting, frankly, right? Like it's way more interesting and way more accessible to all kinds of people who learn differently, and also who speak different languages. I feel like here in New York, we all speak English, but we all speak the same
language,
right?
And so I think about advocacy, right? Because that's exactly what it is. Really having a form of advocacy in a different kind of way. Part of your work is creating that, right? And letting people know that they have the ability to really be advocated for, and then at the same time also be advocates. Yeah. Give me a little about how you guys operate in the area of advocacy, because I know that's a core component of what you do.
So I think it's important that when we use the word actors, we're not meaning, Denzel, so we're meaning anyone who takes action. And so our invitation to engage in this process and to become an actor is that you can take actions for yourself. And so on one hand, we believe everyone can be an activist or an advocate, right? On the other hand, it is important to be in good relationships with folks who, I'm not going to say that they're expert. I think anyone that is facing this problem is an expert, but folks who are professionally engaged and recognize the way the system currently works, right? And so it is important to be in relationship with direct service community organizations. It's important to be in relationship with the advocates and the organizers and the block mayors and all of those folks, as well as elected officials. And so our work, I think, is to balance that we treat them the same, we treat them with the same amount of respect and the same amount of expertise, but that the way that things currently are, we need both, right? We need to have good relationships with our electeds, but we also need to have strong, trusting relationships with the folks that actually keep us safe and actually know the dynamics and what's going on.
You're pretty interesting there. Activism as a whole, I want to talk about that because, you know, that's what you're doing. You're really taking activism and taking it to another level. I know a part of what you also do is really giving some workshops that are really designed to promote and to deal with this area in particular. For somebody who's out on the outside looking in, how does that work?
So a big part of we don't want to gatekeep, right? And so I'll say that we have a workbook that you can work. It's 200 pages. It's free. It's graphic. That anyone can take this book and learn how to do this method with whatever community they want to work in. So that it's not, we're not holding this behind any academic institution or artistic institution. On top of that, we have funding that allows, like, if you have this problem in your community and you want to bring us in to work with you, to train you up, we'll facilitate as well, but the goal is for you to be able to hold this tool on your own. So that can mean anything of like me training your folks on how to do forum theater or legislation theater or conflict mediation with role play. And I can hold that space for you. But my ultimate goal is that you feel confident enough to be an actor, to be a joker, and do this thing on your own, right? Like the relationship that we're looking for is that there is no external validation that you really need. Support, absolutely. Guidance, 100%. But then eventually you're taking this tool that's free for anyone to use and using it wherever you want it, whether that be your family or your community or your apartment building, whatever it may be.
Yeah. Omari, I know you guys are celebrating the 10-year anniversary. Talk to me about how you've seen growth in the organization, and not just organization, but also the impact that you're having in community.
Sure. So 10 years ago, this all started in a John Hus church and with a troop of folks who were experiencing homelessness and doing their stories, right? And thinking about issues. It then grew towards, we have our office. We realized that to make this work sustainable, it needed to be a nonprofit so that everyone gets paid to participate for their stories, to go through the process, and as well as our facilitators. And that was important. We then realized, hey, how do we make sure that this looks evidence-based? We have a legislative theater report to show that this works. We then made relationships with council members and got a couple legislation passed, all from theater, going through the process, and there's at least 8 versions of that. And then COVID happened, right? And the question was like, folks really need us right now, and there is a story of what's happening with the pandemic. And so we figured out how to adapt into Zoom theater. And we were doing full-on forum theater shows, creating them and performing them completely online, while also giving our folks a relief fund, just to, anyone who had worked with us in the last, at that point, 8 years, was access to funds just to get through these hard times. And now we're coming back out again. And the question is, how do we do this equitably, accessible, and keep everyone safe? And so, and we have this workbook, as I mentioned before. And so it's been 10 years, and to continue to grow. I think the methodology started in the 70s. And so the context in which it exists doesn't exist anymore, right? And so, this was frankly a tool to get folks prepared for a possible revolution, right? And now we have to think about let's still look at these larger institutions, but let's also look at the internalized oppression, because maybe the internalized oppression inside of us, and using theater to address that, will also then help us get ready to act to change the world outside. So those are the directions that we possibly could be going in the future.
Omari, thank you so much. Best wishes on the upcoming events, and we'll get back with you soon.
Appreciate you, Daren.
All righty. Omari Soulfinger, our guest here. And listen, I want you to stay with us, because guess what? We do have more show coming up right after this.
And for more information, you can visit the website at conyc.nyc. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more Open right after this.
You can now watch MNN, Brick TV, QPTV, and SIC TV on BronxNet. Tune in to BX Omni, Channel 67 Optimum, 2133 Fios during most Sunday evenings. We'll show you some amazing content from our friends at Manhattan Neighborhood Network, Brick TV in Brooklyn, Queens Public Television, and Staten Island Community Television. Every borough represented in the Boogie Down. Epic partnerships for the ages. And catch our new Next channel, produced in partnership with MNN, 24/7 on BronxNet Channel 952 Optimum and 2138 Fios.
Welcome back. All romantic relationships go through ups and downs, and they take work, commitment, a willingness to adapt and change with your partner. The question is, what makes a healthy relationship, and what are some signs that people should look out for? Joining us to share more is the author and relationship expert, Shauntay L. Dunbar, and good to have you back. And how things going?
Hi, I'm so happy to be back. Things are going great. I'm loving my Miami living.
Yes. Well, while you're out there in the warmth, people are looking to have a hot relationship. So let's talk about a hot relationship. And as I talked about at the beginning, the need to make it work, right? And so why are we not seeing, in so many cases, things not working?
I think it could be one of the biggest things is a lack of respect. Maybe we haven't established how important respect is in a relationship, right? So it's like we're not going to agree all the time, but how are we talking to each other to make us feel like it's a safe space to have our opinions, and not someone take offense to it or lead to an argument or cause issues. So I think respect is like the most important thing, if anything else.
Right. We hear a lot about toxic relationships, but let's talk about healthy ones. What would you define as a healthy relationship?
A healthy relationship has lots of trust in it. You communicate well with each other. You're kind to each other. Talk to each other nicely. There's a ton of support with goals and family and friends. Everyone wants to see you guys win. You guys want to win. And most importantly, you really enjoy each other's company. I think one of the big things to notice is like if you guys are in the same room together and you can be silent without feeling like someone has to speak or someone has to entertain the other. I think you're in a really good place where you know how to just be with each other, and that's more than
Yeah. The healthy relationship is what every relationship really wants to be about, I think. You start out wanting that healthy relationship, and let's be honest, life happens and things happen. But what are some of the things I can do to make sure that relationship is maintained? Because we know it starts out good. There's a lot of life. We've got, that new relationship energy, but that slowly can wane off. So how do we keep the healthy relationship going?
I think you should check in with your partner, right? Especially when you feel like there's some kind of shift or maybe you've experienced something and you're trying to work through it. I think talking to your partner about it can help you guys stay on the path. So once you start looking to others to discuss issues or things that you have and not talking to the person you're in a relationship with, that's when a lot of the toxicity and the trouble starts, right? Because you can't take advice from everybody. Not everybody's operating out of a good place. So you want to be careful about who you're getting that advice from. But yeah, just talking it out to your partner and being really self-aware. And honestly, therapy is a beautiful thing. Most people should tap into that. I think everybody should at least once in your life.
Well, you kind of stole my thunder there because I wanted to talk about that. A lot of couples that have success talk about the fact, hey, we go to couples therapy, right? And it's real. But we do know stigmas, particularly in the minority community, about having therapy, that therapy means that there's something wrong and that you're crazy and this, that, and the third. But talk to us about the value of couples therapy.
I think it just helps you have another tool on how to communicate better with each other. Like there's a way to release stress in a relationship when you go to couples therapy. There's a way to develop coping mechanisms for when you go through things. I mean, a lot of times when people go to therapy, it's usually because they've experienced some type of loss. Maybe it was like a death in the family or of a close friend. Maybe it's the loss of a job. Maybe there's been some changes in their life that they've never experienced before, and they just don't know how to balance it just yet. So therapy helps you become a lot more self-aware, and in being more self-aware, you know your triggers, and you're able to communicate better with your partner. So I recommend that you go individually and as a couple, especially if you're considering getting married. I think couples therapy would be a really good thing to do beforehand,
Yeah.
right? So,
But you just don't go to a therapist. You got to find the right match, right? I think that's also critical because in order to have success, you got to have that trust, right? We talked about trust. What about finding that therapist? How do you go about fleshing that out? Because you just don't go on the phone book and pick one out.
not a phone book.
Right, I dated myself, right? You just don't go on Google and pick one out, right?
No, but you can Google. And honestly, Taraji P. Henson has a really cool foundation for mental health where you can log on. It's called the Boris Foundation, I believe. And if you go on that website, you're able to pick, therapists from like all over the country. They give you their backgrounds, topics that they, are really good at discussing. And then you could kind of narrow it down and pick from there. And at least you'll get like 5 free sessions to see if it's for you. And one thing I will say about picking a therapist, make sure it's somebody who you feel like offers you solutions, right? Offers you tools, not someone who just listens and just like, okay, that's nice, and doesn't get to like the harder question. Because if they don't do that, it's less likely that you'll tap into, what the core is, or why you're feeling the way you are. So those are just a couple of tips to pick up.
Yeah.
Not easy, but you can also, not be afraid to break up with them too, right? So don't feel obligated to stick with someone who's not really helping you.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'll keep looking in the phone book. How about that? Listen, before we go, please tell people what's going on with you.
I love it. So I do have my short film out based on my book, Diving in Stilettos First, Memoirs of Dating Mr. Right Now. Right now it's in a ton of film festivals, so I'm very excited about that. So make sure you check out my Instagram to follow and, stay abreast to the new things that I have going on. I'm also working on a really cool cooking show because I love my plant-based food. And yeah, just living and working and just maintaining my happiness.
That's all right. Well, Shauntay L. Dunbar, I want to thank you so much for being with us and going to make sure we get the people connected to you. And we're not sending them to the phone book. We're sending them to the website. Go visit divingstilettosfirst.com and then follow them on Instagram at diving_in_stilettos9_first. And guess what? You can be connected to her. Don't go anywhere. We got more open. We'll be right back right after this. And welcome back to the show. XL Wellness was created to bring quality community wellness and professional development services to people, especially those who are Black, Indigenous, and people of color, and the LGBTQIA community in New York City through an initiative People First model. And joining us to share more, we've got the founder of XL Wellness and Marielle Montero. And thank you so much for being with us, Marielle.
Thank you again, Daren. Thank you for having me.
And so you are grasping entrepreneurship and mental health and taking it to the next level. Talk to me about mental health because it's a passion of yours. And why mental health?
Well, I ended up breaking into the mental health sector almost by mistake. I am a person with lived experience who had been diagnosed back in college. I was diagnosed with anxiety, depression, and PTSD. So my story is one of learning how to basically find the work styles, the work to do in the community, and the ways of working with myself and also with just my colleagues and my community all around me on how to be mental health conscious as I go about my professional journey, because there was a lot that I wanted to accomplish at that age, but I just lacked that foundation. If you have peace within yourself, is something that I've learned, then you can accomplish so much more than if you're just on go, go, go and ignoring things as they happen. So one of my biggest lessons with bringing XL Wellness to this community is that there is no access to mental health care. There is a huge and dire need in our community for not only mental health care, but also for institutions, schools, workplaces, etc., that support our mental health, that support us in our growth in that area. So this is the reason why I'm so passionate about mental health. I am a person who has dealt with it all from A to Z, and I'm here to help the community to learn all the different tools and the things that I learned to get me to where I am today.
Help us out a little bit in this area. So many people deal with the issue of anxiety, right? We're talking about a group of people who are coming out of COVID, right? We know that anxiety sometimes is at an all-time high. Anxiety and panic attacks, those are things that are common with mental health. Help us through this. How do you deal?
When I was starting out in the pandemic, I was a career coach. And I eventually transitioned over to the mental health space because the need became so dire during that time that people literally had no outlets. Counselors were fully booked. You had to wait months to get to see a therapist, sometimes even for the first screening or the pre evaluation. So this is a community issue that came about, and eventually, what has happened is that people have learned that through community mental health, which is a lot of the work that XL Wellness does, and individual therapy or group therapy or family therapy, couples therapy, that a lot of people have been able to see themselves moving forward in ways that they did not expect to because they didn't have those supports in place before. So I've seen a lot of people grow, but I've also known that the gap is huge and that a lot of people who need the services, 50% in my community, for example, don't even have access to healthcare. So how do we begin to access a therapist when we don't even have access to a general practitioner, when we're crowding emergency rooms? So it is a huge crisis, and also with the homelessness to for the community to take on. So we are fighting that fight every day in many different ways.
So somebody's out there and they're dealing with mental health and they're really struggling right now. You talk about having access, and it's not always the ability to have access to talk about this. What do you recommend for somebody who's struggling?
One of my number one recommendations is to know what hotlines are in your area. For New York City, we have NYC Well, which has a wealth of resources. If you call them, they're able to direct you to anywhere in New York City, in proximity of where you live, and they can connect you to resources. We also have 988, which is a location-enabled hotline that you can call if you're in a mental health emergency, and they will send either the police or a mobile crisis response team. So that's something for the community to know, and also the National Suicide Hotline. And I say those resources just as first steps, right? We have mental health first aid in the community through XL Wellness and also through other organizations. And workplace policies are one big area where all of us can take a little bit of that load, where we can return to our workplaces and talk about normalizing self-care days, mental health days, writing those into people's employment plans, and making sure that people are advocated for at every level, because we know so many people in the community who play a role in many different areas of their community. So we need to make sure that all those different communities that they serve are also serving them.
Yeah. For yourself, you've done this and you're now an expert in the field, right? Talking to people and helping people through this. But you based it on life experiences, right? That also helped you to really get to where you are. Share with us a little bit about the journey that you've had from, the patient to the therapist.
I'll say this. There's a statistic that we teach a lot in mental health first aid that usually it takes people 11 years from the onset of symptoms to reaching somebody who can actually help them with care. For me, that was not the case. It was not a full 11 years, But I will say that it took a full 11 years for me to realize that my mental health care was going to have to be a part of my life forever. And I think that that's something that a lot of people who are dealing with symptoms or think that they're having a mental health challenge really have to navigate and face, that it is a huge change in your entire life, and that may mean changes in your lifestyle and your habits and the people that you keep around you. So one of the biggest things that I would tell people is to never be afraid to be an advocate for your own mental health. If there's anything that your friends, your family, or your workplace, the place where you go to school, if there's anything that's happening that is affecting your mental health, I really push everybody to speak up and make sure that you are seen and that you are cared for in the ways that you want to be cared for. And that is one way in which we can contribute to our mental health and then to the community's mental health.
Yeah. I wanted to jump in and ask the question about COVID, because with COVID emerging and, we were hit in a major kind of way where people's mental was actually challenged in ways that have not been seen in many years. Talk to me about the experience that you've had by way of increased clientele and maybe some of the services that are needed coming out of COVID.
Yep. As a service provider, what I realize is that a lot of people need workforce development training, career training. A lot of people are wanting to change career lanes, but not knowing how to navigate that. So I think that's one of the main things, that if people have access to work that is that fulfills their passions and in which they get paid fairly and adequately, that's one big step to achieving some of the mental health barriers, right? Because we know that some of it comes from lack of resources. And then another thing that I feel the community needs is definitely more access to one-on-one therapy and also group therapy, family therapy, couples therapy, and all of that. A lot of the people who I've seen that were able to do that either had insurance or had the means to pay for that. So I think that's something that the city should be looking at. And then the other thing is that lack of health care doesn't just affect one individual's mental health. It actually affects the community, because the lack of access to healthcare is the reason why COVID was so rampant in certain communities. So we have to address the big elephant in the room, which is the lack of equity that there is when it comes to healthcare in this city and in this country. So I attribute, all of those things are factors. The way that the community is, how accepting we are of one another, all of those things are all factors.
No, you bring good insight there. Where should people go to get more information?
For XL Wellness, you can go to xlwell.com. That's our website. And if you want more information about NYC Well or any of the other services in the city, feel free to call 311. They're always happy to direct people with the exact phone numbers and all that good stuff.
Well, I want to tell you, Marielle, it's been great talking to you. I think it's an important conversation that we have to continue to have. And so many people, as I was saying in another segment, don't always seek therapy because it's not too common and it's not too accepted a practice in communities of color. But we are seeing more and more people begin to reach out. And I'm glad that you're out there to be a lifeline to so many people. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Daren.
All right.
Thank you again for having me.
All right. Well, listen, I want viewers to know, if you want more information, guess what? Visit her website at xlwell.com. And then also follow them on social media at XL Wellness. Well, we come to the end of our show today. I'd like to thank all of our guests for joining us, and most importantly, you, the viewer, for tuning in. If you missed any part of today's show, you can catch the recablecast on Optimum's Channel 67, Verizon Files, Channel 2133, or anytime on the web at bronxnet.org. If you're looking for a brand new episode of Open, come back with my girl, Rena Valentine, on Friday. She'll give you the best of arts and entertainment. That wraps it up for this episode. I am Daren Jaime, telling you, make sure you keep this channel wide open. Take care. God bless.